Hi, thanks for tuning in. Today I'm going to do a review of the Devon coast to coast path, the walk I've just done. It's about 2 weeks now since I finished it. So whilst it's still fresh in the mind, I thought I'd better do a proper review of the walk. For those of you that perhaps haven't watched any of the other videos I've made, the Devon coast to coast is a path that the route I chose is from Wembury in the south near to Plymouth, that then goes up through Dartmoor, across the middle of Devon, and then across Exmoor and finishes at Lynmouth. Obviously you could do it the other way around. It's 117 miles in distance, and it took me 8 walking days. It took me 9 days because I had 1 day off, but 8 walking days. I possibly could have got that down to 7 if I'd sped up a little bit. I had one shorter day, so yeah, possibly could do it in 7 days fairly easily. Anyway, so the first question anybody asks me when I do one of these walks is, what was your best bit? Personally, for me, the best bit was definitely between Chagford and through Stainton. Fantastic bit of walking that. Bit of meadowland walking to start off with, then you went alongside a river in the woods, and then there was a precipice walk around the edges of I've forgotten what the name of the castle was now. It's completely left my mind. I'll put it up on the screen. And then nice views over down that river gorge sort of valley, and then over to Drew Stainton. So I think that walk's probably about 6 miles, something, that little stretch. So it's definitely worth doing if you don't do any of the rest of the Two Moors Way stroke coast to coast. The other good bit was on the final day between Withypool and Simmonsbath. I somehow managed to divert off the path soon after Withypool, but if you pay attention and stick on the path, then actually it's a brilliant path, especially as you get down into the river valley. Once again, well maintained and not overly challenging at all, so a lovely little day walk, stroll sort of path. Equally, people say, well, if that was the best bit, what was the worst bit? Bits of mid-Devon were a bit boring, if I'm honest with you, because there's a fair bit of road walking along typical Devon lanes, where you've got narrow little country lanes with high banks on either side and hedges, so you can't see a damn thing. Some of that was because I actually went slightly off route, but yeah. And then there was some fields that were completely overgrown, and unfortunately the days I went through them, they were soaking wet, so you got saturated from, virtually, well, certainly from the waist down. I would suggest that perhaps the most boring bit was probably between Drew Stainton and Morchard Bishop. There were some interesting bits, but the interesting bits were the bits that I actually did that were off route, I think. So, but anyway, but generally speaking, most of the route wasn't that bad. I was a little bit surprised at times that it didn't go through certain villages officially. So, for instance, the route didn't go through Chagford, and Chagford's a lovely village with lots of facilities. When you've just come down off the moors, so you need those facilities because you haven't had any for miles after mile, and yet the official route skirts around the village. It seems strange to me. So, unless you're an absolute purist, I would suggest that you use the official route as a guideline and then make it up as you go along, because that's what I ended up doing, just in order to be able to use facilities, etc. People have asked me, is it difficult? Yeah, there's about 17,500 feet of elevation to be climbed, so it's no, walk in the park, but I'm not totally unfit. But I did absolutely no training for this, absolutely no preparation of carrying a backpack or anything, and I managed to do it no without any real issues whatsoever. So I would say, yeah, I mean, if you're a complete couch potato and you don't do any walking, then yeah, it's hard. But if you I've done some walking and I obviously did it from south to north, which is the most common way of doing it. But if you were to do it from north to south, i.e. start at Lynmouth, you got one heck of a climb out of Lynmouth, and yeah, that would either make or break you, I should think, because yeah, incredibly steep that ascent out of Lynmouth. So that's one to consider if you're thinking doing north to south. I took a tent with me. I only actually camped in it 4 times, partly because of the weather and partly because I lost confidence in the tent. It's the first time I've taken that Lanshan 2 Pro with me, and I have to say I wasn't impressed with it whatsoever. So yeah, there was very limited official campsites along the route, so you will be wild camping if you're insisting on camping all the time. Yeah, and I did wild camp twice, but there were other times when perhaps I should have wild camped, but the weather was so foul that I wasn't prepared to do it in the Lanshan because I just didn't trust the thing. Likewise, because of the route, you know, as I say, it missed out various villages where, in order to get supplies, you'd need to divert to go into those villages to get supplies. Even having said that, there were certainly the last sort of northern bit of going through mid Devon. Okay, it was a Sunday I did that stretch, but there was literally nothing from Witheridge pretty much to Withypool. The only place that could have potentially had something was 2 places. One was a service area off the A361, which is slightly off route, but that's closed on a Sunday, and likewise a pub at No Stone, and that was closed on a Sunday. So there was literally nothing on that day whatsoever. Luckily, I'd bought a sandwich the night before in Witheridge, so I sort of kept that by just in case. And if I hadn't had that, then I might have been in trouble. Or you need to guarantee that you've got loads of food in your bag, which is obviously extra weight. Is it easy to get from? As I say, I did the south to north, so I trained it down to Plymouth, stayed overnight in Plymouth, and then got a taxi to the start at Wembury. There is a bus service from Plymouth to Wembury. I think it's every hour, so you could catch the bus, or indeed, if it's a nice day and you're feeling fit, the coast path walk from Mount Pleasant through to Wembury is very nice. I've done that before, not on this occasion, but that's going to add about 7 miles to your mileage. So yeah, entirely up to you what you want to do. The end at Lynmouth, I got a bus from Lynmouth to Barnstaple. I think that bus goes every hour, certainly in the summer. I don't know about in the winter. And then a train from Barnstaple to Exeter, and then onwards on the train. Is it worth doing? I enjoyed it despite the weather. I actually did enjoy it, and it was a challenge. Coast to coast is one of those challenges, one of those things you tick off, and I've been able to do it, etc. So I wouldn't rush to go back and do it, but I'm glad that I did do it. And there were some pretty villages to go through, some nice views from some of the moors, but there were other stretches that were a bit boring. But yeah, I think it was worth doing. There's no doubt there's other walks that are probably better, but it certainly, I wouldn't say it wasn't worth doing, let's put it that way. The one thing I would say about the whole walk is signage, route marking leaves a little bit to be desired. It's not a national trail, so funding is probably an issue, but there are times, certainly on Dartmoor, there is none. There's absolutely no waymarking at all on the moors. You might get the odd stone, but that'll be it, and they're not easy to spot. So you definitely need to have a map. I use OS maps on my phone with a GPS signal which shows you where you are, but you definitely would need a map of some description. And even with my map, there are occasions where the path there either isn't a distinctive path, or there's one or two options. So you need a map to be able to make sure you're going in the right direction. And finally, cows. Obviously Devon is famous for its cream. And where does cream come from? Cows. I lost count of the number of herds of cattle I had to walk through. Well, it's in excess of a dozen, I should think. Some of them, youngish cows, were a little bit boisterous, as in a couple of them chased me. They didn't chase me as in to get at me, they just wanted to have a bit of fun. And if you turn around and look at them, they stop, sort of thing. But yeah, it was a couple of times when they sort of they wanted a bit of fun, and other times they just come over and say hello, sort of thing. And then other times they're so docile, or there was even some sheep that was normally sheep run a mile as soon as they see a human, but I walked through some sheep that never batted an eyelid, didn't budge an inch. So, but if you're not confident walking amongst cattle, then probably this trail is not for you, because well, it'll either make or break you, because you'll either become confident or you won't last the first 2 miles. But anyway, I hope that's given you some ideas. If there's anything else you want to know and I haven't sort of mentioned it, then obviously leave a comment and I'll see if I can answer it for you. But if not, if you haven't already watched them, watch the actual videos, and that'll give you some idea as to what it was like. But anyway, thank you for watching this, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.